So the meeting is now recording.
Thanks, Armstrong. So, I don't know if the first thing we can do, because we are late, we are 20 minutes late, it's starting by reviewing the action items we had last week. I guess the only action item we can review today is the creation of the repository for the identities. I think, Daniel, you already created the repository.
Yep, the repo is already done, so it's there. And then we have this big JSON document that we have in GrimoireLab. So it's already public.
Hello.
Okay, I'm sorry. My daughter is still around, so I can't focus too much.
No, I understand the same thing here. It's not easy.
So, well, let me open the document to see what we have here.
Yeah, for the notes agenda for today is to go through the last GrimoireLab release notes. And maybe, I guess Valerio and Alberto, you may drive us around this, maybe.
I can go if you want, Alberto.
And maybe, Alberto, I remember you had some local dashboards, might be something that you can show us.
Yeah, I have some.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, so we start with the release notes. Yes, okay, 1 second.
Go ahead. And if you can provide, perhaps we have some link somewhere so we can.
Yes, I'm looking for the links.
Thank you.
Okay, these are, oh, sorry. Yes, I found the link. Sorry for delay. Okay, these are the release notes. Are pretty ugly, but we are working on improving them. Actually, so let's focus first on what we have there. So this is the news file of GrimoireLab. So in every release, we just add for every component the commits that have been added to each component. So there is not a lot of information about the changes, and we are working to improve what is described in each release. So in this context, we are working on a tool that is in an early stage. Probably you have already heard about it. I'm sharing the link in the chat. So it's the release tools. Is composed of different scripts, and the workflow is documented in the documentation of the tool. So basically, for each important change in the component, the developer should run a script that is called changelog. So in this script, what it does is to add a file, a YAML file, that try to describe the PR, so the new feature or the bug resolution with a high level description. So at the end, when we are releasing the version of this tool, there are other scripts that can be run. So one is the semver app script. I'm sharing here in the chat the links. So this is the semver app. That what it does is basically increase the version number of the component. And then we have the last script that is published. And I'm sharing it here again. That what it does is basically taking all the YAML files that have been created during the before creating the release, and put all this data in a README. So I can show you an example of what this workflow can generate. And actually, we tested this tool in this version, in the release 240. So I'm going to share the link of what has been generated with this workflow. So I just shared the link. So we tested on Grimoire since it's one of the most active components, and we generally do many bug fixes and enhancements. So here you can see that we have basically 5 contributions where we added this the information about the changelog. And so as first evaluation, we can see that the tool is improving probably the situation because we have more information about the changes. However, we have now we have to refine it a bit, because when asking the developer to add to describe the change at high level without entering in the details of the code, you can see that we have some developers, for instance, in the first case, under new feature, we can see that the first enhancement, code complexity per language, is basically a sentence that doesn't say too much about what has been done. Instead, if we look at the third or the fourth feature, we can see that we have more information, more data, so we can get at least an idea of what has been done. So we are in this process. And of course, if you compare this result with the first link I shared, so the one about the Grimoire Lab news, you can see that there is like an improvement. However, we have still to evaluate the tool, because one of the problems now that we have, and we are discussing it, is that the release note is executed just for some PRs, not for all PRs. So this means that the news doesn't reflect all the activity that has been done on a tool, on a component. And here we have like 2 different opinions between Santi and myself. And so we are seeing how we can automate this in a way that the release note is always the changelog information should be always there. However, is the maintainer that can choose if this file can be omitted for some pull requests. Okay, so this is basically the big thing in this release. So we are trying to change the workflow, or at least to define a better workflow to communicate the changes in the release. And then in terms of the work done in this release, we can see that we have some contribution from Google Summer of students. So in Perceval, we added a new backend for GitHub to fetch GitHub events. In this case, this backend is using the GraphQL version of the GitHub API. Since some information is not available in REST, so we decided to go for the GraphQL solution. And then I'm just checking the notes. Then we had some bug fixes on ELK, and many changes on the documentation. This was really a big effort of the students from Google Summer of Code. And then, so in ELK, we have the support for GitHub events. So now we are able to generate, to collect and store the data from different events like labeled and unlabeled events. Then we have information about the changes an issue can have in a project Kanban. This is a recent feature that has been introduced in GitHub. And,
can you share your screen, Valko?
Yeah, sure, sorry. And I'm seeing that I'm seeing a warning message. Host disabled the participant screen sharing. Do you get this in message?
Yeah, maybe Armstrong, can you deal a bit with the options? Because you're still the host. Maybe if you want to give me the host superpowers, I can try to do it. For this, you need to go to the bottom of your Zoom page, go to participants, and then you can give the host power to another person. Oh, Valeria is now the co-host. Maybe Valeria, you can now share your screen.
I still have this warning, host disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, Armstrong, you are mute, just in case you are saying something.
Yeah, I mean,
well, maybe Valeria, keep going.
I can share the screen, so I don't know if.
Valeria, keep going till we have another.
Okay.
News
Yes.
from Armstrong.
Okay. So let me check where I was because I lost the link.
Yeah, I was taking another note. Sorry about that, and then I missed it.
Okay, so yes, so we have this. So Elk has been enhanced to get to process the GitHub events data, and we have also a dashboard that shows the information about closed events, so we can know the people that are merging pull requests and consequently closing issues. In GitHub, you can have like this way of closing issues when you merge a pull request. And then again, even in Elk, we have a big advance in the documentation. This again is thanks to the Go Summer Code students, or at least candidates. And so we have like some CSVs that are the schemas that represent the rich data we have in the platform have been enriched, have been improved. So we have now a schema for Docker Hub, Baskbot, and Mattermost. Then also in this release, what is interesting is also the anonymization feature. This has been done in the context of the SaaS version of Grimoire Lab, that is Cauldron. So here in this case, we can decide to filter some data, in particular user data that comes from GitLab, GitHub, and Meetup. So this data is removed before storing it in Grimoire Lab, and then the dashboards have been adapted to just show an hash or like hidden information. So we have this mechanism to protect the user information. So in the context of this Grimoire Lab, this is not one of the main features because generally we don't have this problem. But for Cauldron, that is the SaaS version of Grimoire Lab, this is really important because this data is open. So you could find your name in a public location where you wouldn't like to see your name. So to protect and avoid cases like this, so we have this feature, and currently it's been applied to just 4 data sources, that is GitHub, GitLab, and Meetup. And then I think is for this release we don't have other information. Maybe we can also comment about Google Summer Code. So yesterday I think was the public announcement about the ideas that were kept. So we have out of 4 we decided to keep just 2 ideas. I see Venu in the call. So hi Venu. Venu is one of the applicants that was selected. So congratulations, Venu.
Thank you, Valerie.
Branko, you can now share your screen. I activated the option.
I can, okay. Yes, I can share now.
Thank you, Armstrong.
You're welcome.
Okay, so you should see the release note, right? So GrimoireLab release notes, I guess, no?
Yes.
Okay, this was, I mean, I can make like a super quick summary. So this is basically the current release, the news. I mean, how we communicate the changes. As you can see, it's really low level information. We go, every component has a list of commits, and we can see what have been done and get an idea of the effort done in each component, just measuring the number of commits. This one is the result of this tool I was commenting at the very beginning, that is the release tools, is composed of 3 simple scripts that implement a really simple workflow. The workflow is composed of a changelog. So each time there is a pull request, the developer is asked to add a small note that summarizes the pull request, the changes done in the code. And then we have a semwrap script that increases the package version. This is done when before releasing before creating a new release of the component. And then we have the publish script that wraps everything and creates this new file, or at least add this information to an existing news file. So as you can see here, we have 2 big sections, new features and bug fixes. And what I was commenting before is that the tool, of course, is improving what we had before, but we have a couple of limitations that we should discuss and see how can we implement this in the tool. The first limitation is that, again, the description of the changes are not really are not always well described. So you can see that in the first case we have just 1 line, and then in the last 2 cases we have more information. And then the other part is that this, if you compare these entries with what has been done in ELK, you can see that there is a huge difference. And so in somehow we are covering or hiding part of the development done on the component. So these are the 2 big things that at least we should be aware of and see how can we improve. And I guess that's all for my side for the GrimoireLab release information.
Oh, thank you very much for sharing.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay,
so I stop sharing.
Yeah, please stop sharing because I need to share my screen to show this thing about the multiple organizations we added to show this in action in a dashboard. So here it is. And now you should be looking directly to the dashboard. I hope so.
Yes.
Perfect.
Alberto, do you have a specific link for this or documentation in the sigils, or maybe just to add to the notes?
No, because this is just a demo dashboard. It's not a standard dashboard in sigils or something like that. So, well, the idea is I just built this dashboard as a demo of some of the possibilities of the new fields. So let me show you the data as it is, just to let you understand how we are organizing this. So, well, I call this index git multi-orgs, but well, the name is the same. It's a simple git index. The main difference is now we have this author name as always, but we also have this author multi-org names field here. So if you look at the right-hand side, you can see documents, and the documents have have, as always, one org name here. In this case, for instance, backend team. Let me do it a bit bigger. But the new field allows to get a list of organizations. In this case, well, they are called organizations because they come from Sorting Hat, but you don't need to rely only on organization data. You can add here whatever you may want, as we have here Python expertise, we have teams, and we have, of course, organizations. The only important thing here is you have a list of strings. And from that point of view, the idea is you can have different affiliations for the same person. So in this case, these are the affiliations for the person who is here assigned as the committer, the author of the commit. In this case is Valerio. And well, this is not real. This is just some sample data Valerio added to the index. So on top of this, what I did was basically building this dashboard. So what we have here is, as always, the evolution of, in this case, commits and contributors, and then this set of tables. This set of tables are based on the same data. Well, contributors is based on contributors, but these three tables are based always in the same field, which is this author multi-org name. The thing is, these tables are filtered to show only some of the entries. And how can we do that? Let's look, for instance, to the teams table. Let me edit the dashboard, then go to edit visualizations. And here, what we have very quickly is we have buckets by terms, and each bucket is going to show a value from the author multi-org names field. So we can show up to, in this case, 5,000 entries, and we are calling this column team. This is this column here, the first one on the left. And on top of this, we are building a couple of metrics, one for counting commits, which is basically unique counting hashes, and the other one, unique counting author UUIDs, which is basically the number of authors or contributors, as we can see here. So based on this, here, we should be looking at or displaying each and every value available in the author multi-org names. But with this visualization, which is a plugin for Kibana called Enhanced Table, we can do some extra things. In this case, what I'm doing here is adding this computed filter for the rows. And with this filter, what I'm going to do is basically showing or hiding some of the rows. In this case, I'm using a function here, which is called search. And by the way, what it does is searching. And I'm searching on the column number 0, which is the team column. And I'm looking for this asterisk. Well, actually it's that asterisk because it's a regular expression, but it's whatever, then team, no matter if uppercase or lowercase, and then whatever. And if the result of this is different from -1, then I'm going to show the column. That means basically, if I find the team, the word team in the column, in this case called team, just show that row. The idea is if I remove this, I'm going to see everything, organizations, expertise, whatever. But once I have this, then I can filter the rows and I can focus only on some specific fields in this multiple organization list we have. So basically, I could do the opposite. And in this case, I'm displaying everything but not team or whatever. So following this approach, what we can do is basically building tables for teams, for expertises, or for organizations. And each table is the same, just modifying this filtering thing I showed. And this is interesting because with just a single field and sorting hat, we can add a lot of information we didn't have. Well, this is flexible, but of course it has some limitations too. But from the point of view of building the kind of hierarchies or visualizing the data from several points of view, this covers most of the use cases, which are, for instance, things like, well, I want to look to all the people I have in my team who have also Python expertise, or I want to know if Bitergia has this or that expertise. So then I can come here and filtering by Bitergia, and here I have that Bitergia has these teams, and these teams have this expertise. So if I also filter, for instance, by the backend team in Bitergia, this is not real data. I can then know that this team has Python expertise and also SQL expertise. And not only that, I can see here that the members of this team are also members of other teams in the engineering team, the support team, or the operational team. Well, whatever, because this is just sample data. So probably this doesn't make any sense for you because it was, we didn't build this data to make sense. So that's that is just something we built to show the data and the filtering and so on. And on top of this, what I did also was building this radar chart to show how to look at, for instance, the expertise. Because this way, we can apply different metrics on top of this. And we can see things like, well, based on the expertise, who are the people that are more, for instance, I don't know, or that made more changes in the last month, or who made the most commits, or what's the difference between people having Python expertise and JavaScript expertise? Are they working on the same things? Are they working in code, or maybe one team is doing more commits and the other is working on pull requests, I mean, reviewing things, or working answering issues or whatever. In this case, as I had only Git information for this example, we have only commits, we have the lines added, the lines changed, and the average files touched. But well, these are only some examples of the data you can visualize. In this case, if this data were real, we could say things like, well, it seems like Python is, or people with expertise in Python are the ones having more commits, more changes, touching the most files. Well, SQL people in this case would be the ones for that.
Alberto, maybe that depends on how verbose the programming language is. Just in case.
Well, this doesn't make any sense because it's just data, but
yeah, I know.
the idea of this is just comparing things. In this case, is Python versus SQL, but it could be team versus team or whatever.
Quick update, Alberto. So we have like 2-3 minutes left, because then we can have like a small break of 2-3 minutes before the next weekly meeting, and we still have some open question. That's all, just in case you would like to.
Yeah, well, this is just the last thing I wanted to comment. So it's just to show the possibilities you have with only this new field and working on top of this new data. So that's all on my side.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and then the last question we had for today was about, so we have a proposal, or some of us, about moving the weekly meetings to bi-weekly meetings. It's mainly because the current situation, well, people with children at home, lack of time in some cases. So the proposal basically is to move this to bi-weekly. So then it would be like it's every 2 Tuesdays. So any comment or concern or suggestion?
For now, I think it's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the workload at home has really increased, and we will need time also to adjust things. Yeah. Then when life gets back to normal, we can always adjust.
Mm-hmm. Benu, Valerio, I don't know if you have any preference, or that's okay for you.
I'm okay with anything.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like what you propose, I mean, to move this meeting every 2 weeks, it's okay. I mean, makes sense to me.
Good.
And actually, since we have the release more or less every month, can be a good way to like show what we are doing, and then the next meeting is, and we did this, so it's a way to keep with the pace of the release.
Okay, so it's Alberto, I assume you're okay with this, because it was you and me discussing this.
I think my opinion is recorded in the first minutes of today's meeting.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so then I guess we can close the meeting for today. Then I'm attending the next one for the weekly meeting, so I will announce this there, and then we can send an email. Any volunteer to send the email to the community? I can do it if not.
Okay, just go ahead and do it.
Okay, you said Armstrong, you were gonna do it, or I do it?
Just do it.
Okay, so then I'll do it.
Okay,
Perfect.
thank you.
Yeah, so then, yeah. So I guess this is all for today. So Armstrong, you can now stop recording if you want.
Okay,
And
thank you.
yeah, thank you, and see you all in a couple of weeks and in the next meeting if you all want.
Yeah.